Anyway, he just saved his team from being scored on and gets credit for a save. Next, we have the slap shot. That's when a player raises his stick over his head and tees off. Yikes! Sending me at those speeds of over 100 miles an hour. Whoa! Personally, I prefer what is called the wrist shot. It's much quicker and more accurate than the slap shot. And easier on the old you-know-what. And now for checking. Checking is guarding, covering, or limiting an opponent's movements and involves body contact. When this delicate art is practiced on defense, it's called back checking. And when done on offense, it's called forechecking. And when checking is practiced on me, like so, this is called sweep checking. How sweep it is. Hi, fella. It's a little hockey fun there. When a player uses his stick to poke me away from an opponent, oops, that's called poke checking. That's smart. And now, have you ever seen a player just sort of skate off and leave me behind to be picked up by his teammate? Well, that's called a drop pass. And here we go, moving right along. And moving right along, let's look at what we call the power play. This bit of strategy is used when Team A has a manpower shortage resulting from a penalty. And Team B, with the one-man advantage, will often replace one of their defensemen with a fourth forward to gain more scoring power, hence the old power play. But then, on the other hand, there's what we call a penalty killer. That is, when Team A, the team that's short of a player due to a penalty, substitutes the regular forwards with defensive specialists, hence the old penalty killer. Get it? Oh, yes, one more thing. Substitutions are made without stopping the game. All a player has to do is make a gesture toward his bench that he wants out, and a substitute is right in there replacing him. Or the coach can make a number of substitutions, and that's called changing on the fly. No time is lost. Which reminds me, speaking of time, it's time to play hockey. Whoops! Oh, those slap shots. Too much of that and the puck could get slap happy. In the meantime, while you're watching all those big guys, keep an eye on yours truly, Peter Puck, the real star of NHL hockey. I'm what the game is all about. Action, hockey fans. You know, this game may seem a little helter-skelter, every man for himself, but not so. The individual play and team play are really sophisticated planned action for the most part. Well-coached teams have organized patterns of play which they practice. Sure, there's ad-lib action depending on where I bounce, but players practice a lot of set plays, too. Hey, Raph, give me a hand up for a demonstration, will you? Sometimes set plays are difficult for fans to recognize. That's because the players are so skillful and move from one pattern to another with such speed that it's hard to realize they are actually executing set plays. But here's one prearranged play that's practiced constantly by teams and is easy to spot. It's a shot off a face-off near the goal. Okay, let's go. The center on offense in this face-off tries to draw me back to his defenseman behind him, who then takes a shot on goal. Now here's the most important play that's easy to spot. It's a team bringing out the puck, that's me, out of its own end of the rink. That's called breaking out. It happens when a team has control of me inside its own blue line. When the defensive team has control, one defenseman takes me behind his net while the wingers move to the boards for a possible pass. Then the center skates behind the net. The defenseman can either give the center the puck or keep it, or bring it out himself. The puck carrier continues to carry me until challenged, then he passes me off, usually to his winger. This is one of many systems used. Now here's another interesting play that depends on how the defense reacts. This is the 2-on-1 breakaway. That is, two players coming down the ice with me and being challenged by only one player from the other team. He's the last man between the two attackers and the goalie. Now, if the defenseman stays in between the attackers, the player with me is free to take a shot on goal. But if the defenseman moves over to check the puck carrier, he will pass off to his teammate, who now has a shot on goal. Of course, the idea behind all offensive plays is to end up with one man having a clear shot at the goalie. No offense, fella. It's just a game, you know. But let's look at a play where the offensive team has broken out of its defensive zone quickly. It's called the 3-on-2 break with two defensemen in front of the goalie. Now the center passes me to his right wing, who goes into the corner taking one defenseman along with him. The center moves up while the left wing breaks toward the goal. The other defenseman has two men to cover, so the right wing passes to whichever player is free, and that player takes a shot on goal. Another version of the 3-on-2 starts out as before. This time, the center carries me to his left and slows down. The left wing then cuts in toward the net as one defenseman covers the center. The center passes me through the defenseman's legs to his left wing, who gets off a shot. Let's look at this again in slow motion. Okay, now here's a third possibility, starting out with me carried by the center. But he drops me, that's a drop pass, moves to the right, pulling a defenseman with him, while the left wing does the same. Then the right wing cuts to the middle, finds me waiting, and takes his shot. The center and left wing are in position for any rebound. Speaking of rebounds, reminds me of the ALH. No, that's not a new league. It's three famous Detroit players who had one of the trickiest versions of the 3-on-2. Sid Abel, Ted Lindsay, and Gordie Howe. Sid, the center, carried me over the blue line, passed me over to Gordie, who wound up for a shot at the net, but instead slammed me into a certain spot in the corner. From long practice sessions on this play, Ted knew exactly where to pick me up on the rebound, and he would take a quick shot at a goalie who was often out of position. The scoring would go, goal to Lindsay, assist to Abel and Howe. That's teamwork. And that kind of teamwork is why Abel, Lindsay, and Howe are considered by many to be the greatest forward lines in NHL history. They call them the production line. Oops. You know, in hockey, a goal and an assist each count 1 point in individual player scoring. There can be up to 2 assists on each goal. Yep. Hockey's a team sport of set patterns mixed with skillful improvisation, much like a basketball fast break. You know, Shakespeare might have been speaking of hockey when he said, "The play's the thing." Speaking of plays, that's my cue. Oh, didn't you know? Oh, yes. I do drama and comedy. Kind of slapstick. On someone who is slap shot. Get it? Yeah. Uh-oh. See you later, folks. I'm on. Yikes! Okay, let's go. Oops. Hey! Ooh! Watch it! Yikes! He shoots. He scores. Well, you can't win them all. Nice try, goalie. Better luck next time.
Thanks, Pete.
Hi, kids. You know, all season long, you see lots of great hockey in the NHL, and each team is trying for enough wins to be champs of their division and then to get into the playoffs, where they go for the Big Apple, the granddaddy of all hockey awards, the oldest trophy competed for by professional athletes in North America. Sure, you guessed it, the Stanley Cup. This trophy has a great history, and we'll give it the special attention it deserves when we tell the Stanley Cup story. But now I'd like to talk about 12 other important awards in the NHL. Way back in 1924, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, donated this trophy to the National Hockey League. At one time, it was awarded to the Old American Division winner, then to the NHL champion. But now, it goes to the division winner of the Prince of Wales Conference. In 1968, the NHL club members presented a trophy in recognition of the services of Hockey Hall of Fame member Clarence S. Campbell. And in the conference bearing his name, the division winner gets the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl. This trophy is a hallmark piece. It's made of sterling silver and was crafted by a British silversmith back in 1878. Wow, that's an oldie. For the player adjudged to be the most valuable to his team, the NHL presents the Hart Memorial Trophy.
The original, presented to the NHL in 1923 by Dr. David Hart, was retired to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1960. This annual award winner is selected by the Writers Association in the NHL cities. They also select Best All-Around Defensive Player in that position. Oops. Okay. Whew. The winner of Best All-Around Defensive Play is given one of the newest NHL awards, the James Norris Memorial Trophy. It was presented in 1953 by the 4 children of Hockey Hall of Fame member James Norris. These same writers also select the player adjudged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability. He is awarded the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, named in honor of the wife of Canada's Governor-General in 1925. She presented this award at that time. The Writers Association also vote for the winner of the Rookie of the Year award. It was named in honor of Hockey Hall of Fame member Frank Calder, who presented the trophy from 1936 to 1943. This trophy goes to the player selected as the most proficient in his first year of competition in the NHL. When it's all said and done, though, the game of hockey is attempting to score, zapping me into the opponent's goal. The player who rings the bell the most in the league during the regular season is given the Art Ross Trophy. It was first presented in 1947 by another Hall of Fame member, Art Ross, one of the great pioneers of the game. And on the receiving end, the goalie or goalies having played in a minimum of 25 games for a team with the fewest goals scored against it received the Vezina Trophy in honor of the great goalie George Vezina, known as the Chicoutimi Cucumber, who played from 1910 to 1925. The Professional Hockey Writers Association is the trustee for the award honoring the late Bill Masterton of Minnesota. It goes to the NHL player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. The New York Rangers received a special trophy in 1966 honoring their great Hockey Hall of Fame member, the late Lester Patrick. Since 1966, miniature copies are awarded annually for outstanding service to hockey in the United States. To honor Toronto's Conn Smythe, Hall of Fame member and honorary governor of the NHL, the Maple Leaf Gardens Limited established this annual trophy to go to the most valuable player to his team in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The newest trophy is presented by the Radio and Television Broadcasters Association. It is the Coach of the Year award. By the way, you can see all of these trophies on display at the Hockey Hall of Fame building in Toronto. Well, that's it, kids. These are the valuable honorary awards that give special recognition to outstanding members of the NHL family, and we're proud of all of them. You know, I don't like to be pushy, but I'd like to see him present the Peter Puck Cup. After all, I'm such an ice guy. Ice, that is? Hey, just a joke, fellas. Anyway, keep watching your favorite players. They could be this year's winners. And keep practicing, kids. You could be future champs. Love that NHL hockey. Hi, kids. I'd like to tell you about some very special events in the world of hockey. I call them my memorable moments. Hey, ouch! But that's one I'd like to forget. Hold the sticks, fellas. I'm about to scan through my old scrapbook. Let me see. Oh, yes, I remember this one. One of the real thrillers. It was the 1928 Stanley Cup Series between the New York Rangers and the Montreal Maroons. Montreal had won the first game. In a scoreless second period of the second game, I was being carried down the ice by the Maroon center, Nell Stewart. He zapped me at the New York goalie, Lorne Chabot. Oops! The shot caught him in the left eye, and he was out of the game. Sorry, fella. You know, in those days, the goalies didn't wear face masks, and they suffered a lot for the lack of them. There were no substitute goalies then, either. The New York Rangers had 10 minutes to find one. What to do? The manager-coach of the Rangers, Lester Patrick, didn't have an experienced goalie among his players. He tried to enlist an Ottawa goalie sitting up in the stands, but the Montreal coach wouldn't allow it. Patrick told his players that one of them would have to tend the net. His center, Frank Boucher, turned to him and asked, "How about you playing goal?" Lester Patrick was 45 years old. He had been long since retired as a player, but he had experienced brief goaltending fill-ins in emergencies. This was a biggie. He would have to do it. And he did. He inspired his Rangers, who played the greatest game of their lives. Every time a Montreal player dared get me close to the Rangers' white-haired goalie, they would come crashing out of nowhere and get me out of there. Well, most of the time. Patrick had blocked a lot of shots, and his Rangers had put them in a 1-0 lead in the third period. As fate would have it, that Nell Stewart fella moved me towards Patrick with 6 minutes to play and tied up the game. But the Rangers Boucher won the contest 2-1 in the overtime. The Montreal crowd gave Lester Patrick a roaring ovation for his outstanding performance. And with a regular goalie, his inspired Rangers went on to win the Stanley Cup. But Hall of Famer Lester Patrick had provided hockey with one of its memorable moments. But there are more, lots more. Way back in 1936, in the Stanley Cup first-round playoff between the Montreal Maroons and the Detroit Red Wings, there was a marathon game. The regulation contest ended tied 0-0, so they went into overtime. I remember it well. I got belted about for 20 minutes and still no score. Whew. And then another overtime. Then another. And still a scoreless game. And another. And another. The players on both teams were exhausted, and I was a little beat myself. League President Frank Calder refused a request to postpone the finish the next night. The teams decided to flip a coin to select a winner or play without goalies. Either way was fine with me. But when they asked the 15,000 fans, they wanted no tricky finishes, so overtime 6 was started. Whoops, here we go again. Finally, 16.5 minutes into the period, Detroit rookie Mud Bruneteau poked me into the net for the winning score. Wow, it was 2:25 a.m., 5 hours and 51 minutes after the start of the contest. Hockey's longest game was over, and not a minute too soon. My hard rubber body was softening up. Oh, here's one of the all-time super stories, and it involved one of hockey's greats. Maurice Rocket Richard, the dark-eyed demon who played for the Montreal Canadiens. In a Stanley Cup playoff against Toronto, Rocket Richard was a one-man skating rampage. To his opponents, his dark eyes seemed to blaze with fire. No scores in the first period, but in the second, Richard rocketed me in for 3 goals. It was the hat trick with assists from the famous punchline. Oh no, that's not the finish. In the third period, he zapped me into the net for 2 more. Montreal 5, Toronto 1. Some folks saw it like this. Richard 5, Toronto 1. When the 3 top stars were honored, guess what? Yep, the Rockets got the triple honor from 12,500 horse